right, guys. Obviously, good win against a quality opponent, and give Minnesota credit. I think they make the game challenging with some of their mixing defenses and their ability to make shots. So give them credit. I thought our guys, really in the second half were able to make some shots, and I think that opened the defense up a little bit. We played with a little more purpose on the offensive end there, and a little bit cleaner in the second half. Some of it was we had to adjust to how they were doing some things, but good win, and moving on to practice on Thursday.
Chris, about 10 minutes in, Zed missed a shot. Very next time out, you actually pulled him totally aside, talked to him by himself for a little bit, and then the second half it looked like he played with a little more force and was a little more effective. What was that conversation between you guys, and what did you see him flip the switch in the second half?
Yeah, we've just been on him about slowing down and playing with more balance in the post. That's the biggest thing. He just rushes it too much. He's got to settle the ball. He's got to read the defense, and he's got to play on balance. And
do you think in the first half, them having Curry back maybe changed the dynamic of the defense, the zone from the first time you guys played?
Well, Curry's a really good player. Having him back helps him on both ends, because he's a really good player and he's a big body and he's been in this league for a while, so he knows how to play. But just in general for Zed and his growth, he's got to slow down when he's in traffic. He can score over bigger guys. He's done it his whole career, but he can't do it when he's rushing things. And that was my conversation with him. And sometimes you got to pull a guy aside because they hear it, but when you really want them to hear it, that's. I just wanted him to slow down because he's really effective when he slows down.
Obviously, you want defense to turn into offense, and it seemed like your defense kind of showed up there in that first half. But I mean, with that stretch of the scoreless drought and the turnovers and things like that, I mean, obviously that was adjusting to Minnesota's zone. But I mean, what allowed you guys to kind of use a consistent defensive performance and kind of turn that into offense there in the second half?
I think our defense helped. We were able to create some turnovers playing Jamari for a longer stretch. His activity was really good. So was Zed. Zed had 2 steals. And then I honestly making some open shots. I think that we were able to finally kind of make some open shots. And Ryan Peden had a good suggestion at halftime about attacking the zone a specific way. I thought that was helpful.
And how impactful was that first 3 from Jamari Wheeler to kind of ignite your offense here in that first half?
Yeah, I think that was critical. It was a late clock. We were trying to get the ball inside, and ended up. He's a really capable shooter with time and space. We know that he's very capable with time and space. Might take him a minute, but he's very capable, and we want him to shoot those and be ready to shoot them.
Chris, what's it been like for you this year, coaching a guy like Jamari, who is a little bit of a gambler, I think, on the defensive end, but obviously his ball pressure and activity are very important to you guys. I don't want to lose that, but you also don't want to sit on the bench with 2 fouls, 2 minutes in the game. So what's that balance?
I thought he had really good pop today, Bill, in terms of just his bite defensively. He's just got to be able to manage that aggressiveness with just a little bit smarter play. His second foul wasn't smart. He almost got a third one. So I think he's just got to balance that. He's got to take some chances because that's who he is, and I don't want to prevent him from doing that. I think we've tried to stress being a little bit more solid in areas off the ball and being a little more aware and not creating offense with this pressure. But I thought he was really good tonight on a really good player.
He last game and this game, maybe not every possession, but he's had a few where he is off the ball, maybe I guess a little more aware of things, directed traffic,
Yeah.
making sure the switches are right.
Yes.
I'd imagine you want more of that from him, right? To be
Yes.
kind of the guy who's kind of leading things on that end of the floor.
Yeah, he's a good talker. He's a really good talker. And, there's some specific parts of our defense that we've really been stressing the last 2 weeks. We've showed them clips from our team, our third year that was top 20 in the country in defense, and our first team that was top 20 as well. And I think the connection and just some key points, and I think we need Jamari to continue to lead the way there with that. We've seen some improvement, but obviously we're gonna get tested against some really good offenses here coming up.
Chris, did you know how your team would respond after halftime? Did you have an idea that they would come out and play, I mean, to flip the script the way that they did?
People, to be honest with you, I don't really look at it like that. I know people think it was a tale of two halves. I don't really look at it like that. Listen, this team almost, they went down to the last minute at Wisconsin. They played Iowa, they were up 4 at half. I just, people think in this league you should just blow people out. Just, in the first half, be up 20. Like, come on now. Like, I'm not saying you. I'm just saying in general, people think that. Like, have you ever played? Like, that doesn't happen in league play. So I just knew that it was going to be a little bit of a slow drip, and if we could win some possessions, maybe we could stretch it. But I didn't really look at it at the tale of two halves. Outside of our shot making, Adam was much better, and we attacked the zone with a little more aggressiveness.
How much of that, if at all, was EJ? It seemed like they really made it tough for him
Yeah.
to get going, and I mean, he scored a lot of his points late. A lot of times this season when you've needed to get going, it's been EJ.
Yeah, they really crowded him. It was not single coverage like we saw the other night. They really crowded him, and we got to cut better off him and play off him. And if they're gonna not guard Jamari's got to be ready to shoot it. He had to probably pass it a little bit more tonight, and he did. He was a willing passer. He always is, but he was a little bit sloppy with the ball at times.
Chris, when you say it takes time for Jamari to get some of those shots off, what do you mean by, I mean, is it just that he hesitates to do it? Is it?
Well, he just his release didn't take Dwayne much time. Dwayne never didn't even need to think about it twice. But Dwayne had a really quick release. Jamari's just release, his mechanics are just a little, I'm not saying they're slow, it's just he's a little bit smaller, so it takes a little bit more time. But when he has time and space, he's very accurate. I mean, I've seen him shoot it for the whole year. He's very accurate.
So when teams do give him that shot, I mean, green light, he takes it?
Yes, absolute green light. Absolute green light. Needs to take it, want him to take it. Doesn't need to hesitate ever, at all. He's got an open three with time and space.
So I want to pursue your comment about tale of two halves and you're pushing back against that. You're not happy with the first half in which you have no free throw attempts, 8 turnovers, and 2 assists.
I wasn't happy with our turnovers. I was really happy with our defense. Yeah, to valid question. I was not happy. I thought we were really sloppy. We didn't attack the zone great, but I was really happy with our defense. I thought we played at times really well in the first half. We just didn't make some open shots. But I was not pleased with our sloppy offensive play in terms of turnovers.
So you talk a lot about your offensive efficiency. For you, the lack of offensive efficiency in the first half was just that it didn't go in.
Well, it was
turned
part.
over too often.
No, it was part of it, and we were careless with the ball. Yeah, we were definitely careless with the ball. We addressed that. Careless with the ball and no offensive rebounds is kind of the things we hammered. But and I just thought we were too stagnant against the zone. So I'm not saying we played a great half. I'm just saying sometimes it takes you a little bit of a feel. They played differently the second time in terms of how they played their man-to-man than the first time. So you go into the game thinking they're going to play one way. They play a different way. You got to make some adjustments at halftime, and that was part of it.
Chris, kind of piggybacking off that, in the second half, you guys had 9 assists and 2 turnovers.
Yeah.
Did that kind of just come with getting more comfortable with what you were seeing from their defense, or?
I think that was a big part of it. And like I said, Ryan Peden had a good suggestion on a little bit more movement against the zone. But I think it was a comfort level. And then, when you see a few shots go down and you get that, 5, 7 point, I think it gives you a little bit of freedom. So I think that was a combination of things.
And with EJ, we kind of had a slow start, but he still finished with 16 points. He had a big pair of threes towards the end of the game.
Yeah.
Is he just somebody that you can really just, at a snap of a finger, you can kind of trust him to make some big shots, make some big plays?
I don't know if it's quite that easy, but I've always said God has gifted him with the ability to score the ball. He can roll out of bed and score the ball, and that's a great gift.
Maybe this is too simplistic of a question, but it's obvious why it's important Justin Norris needs to shoot the ball.
Yeah.
A blind man can see that. with people like Jamari, where everybody knows it's not his strength, it's probably the weakest part of his game, and the defense is clearly daring him to do it. With those types of guys, why is it so important that they still have no hesitation to shoot those shots?
Well, our offense needs that. Our offense needs multiple threats out there. And Jamari's going to get open looks because of against certain teams because of how they play our post players, and so will some other guys. But I thought Malachi's couple threes there early really opened things up. I love the transition three he had. I thought it was a great play by Jamari. But I just think for our offense to continue to be successful, it cannot be just the E.J. Liddell show every night. You're not beating good teams with that. It just, teams are too good defensively, so we gotta have some variety.
I know Jamari's a veteran, but he's relatively new to your team. Would you have kept him in a game, in a Big Ten game early in the season with 2 fouls that quickly, or put him back in, I guess?
Yeah, I don't
Would that
believe
be
in
kind of
benching
trouble?
guys with 2 fouls. I have. I just don't believe in that. I never have. It's burnt me a few times, but I do not believe in benching guys with 2 fouls in the first half. So it's just philosophy.
So just a trust that you trust the guy and play through it?
Yeah, now if they burn me a few times, I probably will keep them on the bench. But you get 5 fouls, I think, before you get disqualified. So I'd prefer to keep our best players on the floor as much as we can.
There are 2 more up there, Adam. Are you learning a little bit about your defense these last couple of games? I mean, you're starting to maybe string some stops together. I'm sure it's not where you want it to be, and I know you're not a finished product, but are you starting to see something change in a mentality or in how your guys are approaching that end of the court?
I think so, Adam, but I think it's it's such a process for us as a group, and it's a climb that we have to make every day. It's a commitment and a climb we have to make every day. But I think we're getting a little bit better understanding, and that's really, it's got to be player led. It's got to be player led. So we've had some good stretches here, but we play one of the best offensive teams in the country on Saturday.
Does that go with you talking about how this is starting to become a little bit of a player-led team? Do those?
Yeah,
are those
for sure. I think for sure this time of year, like we have identified that over and over, that will provide limitations for us.
You mean the defense?
Yeah. Yeah.
To Steven's point about the reason why you like Justin out there and shooting, we talked about Justin's kind of shedding his slump a couple games ago. It does not appear in the last 3 that he's built on that. And it looks like Sed and Gene are taking minutes that used to be his. I know you're at this point of the season, are you not, where guys who are coming on and guys who are regressing? I mean, does that have to result in the minutes equation that we've seen, or is Justin in a position where he's got to start producing more in the future because you can't continue to count on what you've seen in the past?
I think Justin will get continued consistent minutes. He's in our rotation. He's not starting, but he's in our rotation. I don't see that changing where he's not going to be in our rotation because he adds too much value to our team in other ways than just shooting. So I think that he'll continue to stay in the rotation as long as he continues to approach it the right way. I just think he will in our 8-9 man rotation.
Or would you agree Sed and Gene are coming on?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and both those guys, the minutes have some of Justin's minutes have been given to those 2 guys for sure. But it's a pretty fluid thing as well. But both of those guys have played really well here lately.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.